Well, I am so delighted to have Marguerite Rigoglioso back on our podcast, we'll call it. And Marguerite, I'm so honored that you would come back and do this amazing next installment with us regarding your upcoming program. You've got this name down here. There's a few names. Reclaiming Guinevere, Arthur, the Fae, and the Round Table is one of the names you've got, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you are a divine birth expert. So I'm like, how did you get from Mother Mary? I was like, oh my God, do these worlds intersect? What's going on? So,
I know, Michelle, it's just so weird. Like the way things have been going, all of these puzzle pieces are coming together for me now and for
nice.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, now I get why I spent 10 years looking at that and why I spent parallel time looking at this and the other thing. And they are all intersecting. And, there are various seers who are helping us to do that. And I've been getting this information myself. So I'm helping us, bring together all these convergences. And so, to start with the divine birth piece, this is definitely something we're going to look at in detail in the course. But suffice it to say that this has to do with the underexplored phenomenon of Arthur's conception, Guinevere's role and non-role in working with Arthur,
Okay.
Merlin's conception,
Ooh.
and at least one other conception in this story that suggest, let's say, divine conception, tantric union
Mm.
in a ritualized format
Ooh.
in order to bring forth the true avatars. Okay, so
Okay.
what I have come to understand is that Arthur and Guinevere are like octave iterations
Mm.
of Jesus
Mm.
and Magdalene, who in this context is like an amalgam of Mother Mary, Sophia, and Magdalene. Like they all come together in this great being
Wow.
that was supposed to have been divinely mated with Arthur.
Mm.
But because of what went down,
Mm.
stuff happened.
Okay.
And they were, Arthur is the last, as I see it, semi-legitimately divinely born royalty king on the planet.
Oh.
Already with his story, which I'm going to have people look at, the
Mhm.
veils were getting thick. They were coming down. There were problems already.
Mhm.
The magician Merlin was getting a little too involved. And yeah, the whole thing they could not keep holding on to it. And it did not achieve what it was meant to. So now fast forward to this time where we're in the ascension, and there's an awakening happening, a quickening.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to find out that there's been this legend of Arthur, that he was the once and future king, that he was essentially put asleep, what Lisa Renee calls stasis, and that he was literally, they describe places in the UK where this happened. I don't know if it's a cave somewhere, Wales or whatever, obviously on the interdimensional level.
Aha.
And Lisa Renee says that as of this year or last year, 2021, 2022, Arthur is awakening from stasis. Period. Okay. So that means that this whole thing is getting activated. And now this is explaining why I had all these pieces on the table. And I'm like, someday I'll talk about Arthur and Guinevere and, what they represent. And I mean, it's truly astounding what's going on now. And she helps us find the lineages and the histories, the hidden and inverted and twisted histories that have been going on. And also there are other seers and so forth who understand that these beings are related to the dragons
Mm.
and the fae, the fairies,
Mm.
another whole story, which connects all these dots of what I've been looking at. So the time is now, we are here. It's all awakening. We're all awakening from stasis if King Arthur does.
Wow. If okay. And so you just I mean, you finished the book of Mary. Like
Yeah.
it's been a year or so?
Yeah, it's been out for a bit more than a year.
Bit more.
And I
Okay.
have a second book on Mary that I'm working on now
Right.
that will have more of who Mary was, is, and shall be as she relates to all of us,
Oh, good.
and some aspect of her in connection to the Fae, the she.
Oh, really? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. So I'm curious, this course, how did it come in like recently? Like, I mean, you've had pieces all along because I know you were working with the Fae, 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't know your whole
Yeah. I
trajectory, but I'm just so curious how this actually got activated to come out now.
I know. I mean, I just it's basically, Lisa Renee, like listening to her energetic synthesis on her site, energetic synthesis,
Uh-huh.
has something called shifting timelines. And she has an audio and written blog that she puts out once a month
Okay.
for the past year, and various topics I've listened to. And I just went, oh my God, boom. She's really talking about the awakening of all this. And she helped me to put together all these pieces. And then I realized I have pieces that she doesn't have. And that, Wendy Berg, who talks about Guinevere as a fairy,
Mm,
a fairy human hybrid, essentially, that Wendy Berg doesn't have. So I feel like all these things need to be put together.
I
And
see.
so over the past few months, as I've been working on this, finishing the second Mary book, and the chapter was starting to get really long, and I'm like, I can't go into this whole thing about, this is a book about Mary. I can't fully go into Arthur and Guinevere. And I'm like, okay, I need to be teaching a course. Like, I always do what I'm excited about. I'm like, this is what I'm excited about. So over the last few months, I decided, yeah, this is the next thing. And I can't wait because it's mid-June. It starts June 15th live. And then, as people watch this later afterward, it's going to be 4 Thursdays. It will be on demand,
Okay.
remaining indefinitely. So people can still continue to enroll and go back to it. And we're going to be not only talking about this esoteric history, but also having experiences of
Mm,
restoring the sacred marriage within ourselves, because this is also about restoring the sacred marriage of Arthur and Guinevere,
mm.
brushing off all of this negative stuff that ended up happening with Guinevere and her 75 million abductions and these other stories that went on about her,
Right.
and really restoring the king queen energy,
Hmm.
figuring out what the heck the round table is
Mm.
and using it, figuring out what the castle is and using it, and figuring out what the grail is and using it. So this is going to be like the beginning taster of all of these things that really are for the now and for the awakening consciousness and this big event that's happening on the planet, which is the co-creation of the new earth, the restoration of the linkages between third dimension and fifth dimension, the things that were torn asunder right around the time of when all this Guinevere Arthur business went down, and coming together and co-creating the new earth.
Wow. It's so rich. It's unbelievable. I love how it feels very experiential, what
Yeah.
you are wanting to share. I like the magical experiential connection to the Fae and
Yeah,
in this information on top of it all. I mean, Arthur and Guinevere, I mean, this whole Guinevere thing is so exciting. And to hear that she's being reclaimed of her positive, like, I mean,
I
I have
know.
not really seen a lot of positive Guinevere stuff. I mean, there's some,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you're gonna like blow the top off of all that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because as we blow the tops off, we shift our own realities within. As we change the stories, we change our realities. Like the Magdalene story was a big one that had to be changed.
Right.
And Guinevere is an octave iteration, like I'm saying, of Magdalene. Whether she came before or after is sort of immaterial, but the rewriting of that story and the cleaning up of it, the clearing up of it is really important for us in terms of how we're going to go forward as women and how we're going to go forward as women and men being together, or anyone who wants to be in the sacred marriage template. So it's very, very exciting.
And that was interesting too, that I heard you say at one place that that they came before Jesus and Mary, but then you're not really attached to the timeline. It's not
Yeah,
so much the exactitude of these details, it's
yeah.
more much bigger. It's beyond. It's the magic and
It's the magic. It's the magic that goes forward and backward in time. So who cares? You know what I mean? It's like time is simultaneous. So let's just get with that moment and that story.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Lisa Renee basically says that the Celts were, they seem to be like a mixture of the Tuat de Danann, who came in from the interdimensional realms and sort of ended up residing and being the fifth dimensional she and Fae, the shining ones. So they came into the British Isles. And then the British Isles was also a place where the Essenes kind of came up in, but pre-Jesus, pre-Magdalene, and left their languages up there. So there's a real strong connection between the she or the Fae, the high elves of Tolkien, the shining ones, our ancestors, our kin in the other dimension, and the Essenes, and what that holy living is all about on the planet. So all these things come together, because when you bring in the Essenes, then you're bringing in the Cathars, right? And you're bringing in all of this healing that needs to happen with these lineages that got genocided and these trauma memories that we have,
Right.
and how they really even are connected with Atlantis and Lemuria, really, because we're all figuring out that, holy crap, Atlantis is now on some level.
Right.
Like all that it's bleeding through, like we're like, it's not exactly just a past thing that Plato talked about, pre-Egyptian. It's like there's a level in which it's, phew, what's happening now? And those of us who are seeing are understanding this on some level, even though we can't cognitively put it all together. But I really do like what Lisa Renee does, because she will give timelines. And I'm like, reading, going, oh, because then when I do get like a linear timeline, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm able to kind of go in with my own oracle capacity. And that's what I want everyone to be able to do who's going to take the course.
To tap into their oracular capabilities in general
Knowing
or specifically to this.
specifically to this and how it relates to their lives
Mm,
and what's going on now, because every single person who's going to be coming into this course is connected to this subject matter. You're not going to even go there if you're not.
right.
But if you are, chances are you've been holding this long term, both love and grief at the same time, inexplicable,
Mm.
about what does this mean? What's going on here? When did this happen? And what does it mean for me today? And that's where we're going. We're going to like kind of step into it, step through the portal, and look at what we need to do.
Mm. And so this reclaiming of Guinevere, I mean, I mean, I read somewhere that there were three Guineveres that Arthur
Yeah,
was married to. Is that?
yeah, yeah. It's really a strange thing.
Uh-huh.
In the ancient legends, like
Mm,
the oldest legends that we have, which seem to be some kind of history,
mhm.
unless you're a constipated academic and you're like, you make the whole thing dissolve, right? Because
Right.
that's their job, is to make magic and mystery dissolve.
Go away.
Okay. They are hired by these negative forces in order to do it.
Right.
And so you'll lose the whole train and thread if you try to look at these historical writings about the whole thing. You've absolutely got to return to the mystical,
Mm,
because these histories are originally all about Arthur dealing with negative interdimensional beings that
mm.
are winged and serpentine, and evil sorcerer people, and bizarre cat-headed and dog-headed beings. And I mean, the whole thing is like a totally, it's when the magic was alive and well, both the positive and the negative. But
Right.
yes, in these ancient stories, it's said that he was married to like three different Guineveres.
Like
So,
how how awesome,
right.
how how is that possible to be?
First of all, okay, so this is where we have to start looking at it from the oracular lens,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I haven't even looked at it yet. Like maybe I can do it with you today, but so there's that. And then there seems to be this weird story that Guinevere had an identical twin sister, also named pretty much Guinevere.
But a
Okay.
different spelling, maybe?
Either a different spelling, or, there was like the greater and the lesser Guinevere, and she was the greater, but the lesser did all these shenanigans with Arthur
Oh.
on the wedding night. Okay. We're talking shenanigans to mess up, okay, the conception. So I'm going to be talking about all these details
Okay.
and whatnot and so on,
Right.
so we can understand what the hell was actually going on, and what the hell was the technology that could have been used to bring a double Guinevere into reality.
Oh,
And
wow.
is this triple Guinevere polyamory on the part of Arthur, or was it reference to a triple goddess energy that he was dealing with?
Right.
What level does it operate? How literal? How magical? Um, what medicine does each one bring, or does this story need to be cleaned up? Right. So these are the types of things that we're going to be looking at, from the third eye. And what I really want to do is like get everybody into a total, you know, altered state experience for us to go into it together. I mean, I had actually thought about having like a cacao ceremony together, and I might do like a separate one for those who are super into it,
Right.
a little bit later in the summer. Like, what are we all picking up on here with this?
Right.
Because I don't claim to have all of the threads and all of the histories, but I know that because these are collective reconstructions, really.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Which is, I like that. You talk about the collaboration with the fairies and, that
Yes,
energy.
that's right. That's right. Because the fairies and all that they represent, the she strain of them being the shining ones, like basically these interdimensional godlike beings who are our ancestors, who
Mm,
are us before we split into 3D and they stayed in 5D.
mhm,
And before these wars that went on,
mm,
where they were forced to kind of go underground
mhm,
or become more hidden,
mhm.
and the veils between the worlds became thicker, and the Milesian wars, and all this stuff. So it's, there's a seriousness to that part of it, but then the fairies are also the realms of light and lightness and fun and play and magic and mischief,
Mhm.
right? So we need to restore all of this So that's part of what's happening here. It's like a huge thing when you think about what this course is, but you know,
Yes.
I'm trying to open the door here, and then I'll see, because this is how I learn too, you know, and then we'll figure out what are the next steps.
Right. That's very exciting. It's very
Yeah.
alive and being created in process
Yeah.
with you know, yeah, I really appreciate that you are in that open state
Yeah.
of creativity and collaboration
Yeah.
with your guides or the fays and the people in the course, and
That's
it's
right.
incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
because really everyone has a piece, and that's the important piece of it. Yeah.
I mean, this feels so different in a way than the Mary story because that was codified, I guess. And I mean, it's so much more known, I guess, and people believe it to be true on some level. And this, you're working with what people think, they don't really think of Arthur and Guinevere as being real people. They think of them as mythological people.
Right. Right.
So it feels like, yeah, there's more magic actually and expansion through this portal that you're bringing
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. And you know, Arthur basically as an iteration of the Christ. And so together he and Guinevere are form the Christ Sophia. And that's what we're awakening within our hearts and our seeing at this point. It's really all about the hearted ascension. So to return to what you said about Mary, you know, to some degree that she feels more real to people, or at least like you can get a footing with her. There's scriptures that
Right.
sort of have to do with her, or suppressed
Yeah.
gospels and things. This feels a little more, quite a bit more obscure. But you know, all the more room for us to open our own third eye, our own third ear, our own third, you know, second heart, whatever it is, our own wombs, and to tune in, you know, who are these people? Who were they then? Who are they now? How does it relate to us? Where are they going? Where are we going? Because gone are the days of you know, this second coming,
Is there
right?
wind over where you are or something?
Yeah, there
Oh, there
is.
is. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was hearing it on your end too. Let me
Oh,
see.
really?
Kind of, yeah, it was sounded like drag racing or something. But you know, the fairies. I mean, they're anyway,
You haven't pixelated yet.
okay, you know, that has happened to me when I talk about the
I
fairies.
know. I've been watching you go into like
I know.
amazing pixelation.
Yeah, it's just so weird. But you know, like this is gone are the okay, so this second coming of Arthur, right? The
Mm-hmm.
second coming of Jesus, the second coming of Mary, the second coming of Guinevere is not about big king queen figures who are going to solve all our problems.
Right.
It's about them being present with us on the inner planes, and us being able to open to them as guides, as guardians, as healers, as mentors, as teachers, so that we can have the ascension within ourselves.
Mm.
That's what's different now
Mm.
about, you know, any other time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's why it's important to see these, hold these people in a kind of a light, even paradoxical way,
Mm.
and
Right.
be with them on different domains. Like, yes, they could have walked the planet, or maybe not. However, they still exist. And if so, what are they telling me now about myself?
Mm-hmm.
What medicine do they hold?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm coming to with this. And yes, there are places on the planet where these beings are anchored. Jesus, you know, it's in the Middle East and so forth. Arthur, it's in the British Isles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's also on the inner planes.
Mhm.
And that's what Lisa Renee is really good about talking about.
Mhm.
Like, what dimensional layer is this happening on? How do we get that map, right? So she's offering a kind of an interdimensional map, which I love, because when she says the 11th dimensional Stargate, or something like that, you're like, oh, wow, that kind of gets you going and gets you starting to open in amazing ways that are actually part of your initiation. To
Mm.
understand what that is, to remember, to go there, to restore,
Mm.
bring yourself into your own divine human blueprint. That's what, our original blueprint. So we're all coming out of stasis.
Right. And it just feels also that in a way, even though they're mythological, Arthur and Guinevere, they almost seem more relatable than Jesus and Mary because
Exactly.
do you know what I mean? They're like more human or I don't
That's
know.
right. Yeah,
Something
they were in with all these intrigues and everything.
yeah,
Not only, I mean, so were Jesus and Mother Mary, but
yeah,
we understand them more in their advanced levels.
yeah,
And now, that almost seem a little unattainable.
yeah.
And now, by checking in with the Arthur and Guinevere levels of that soul being, let's say it's all part of one soul tribe,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, okay. It shows us what we need to clean up within our own soul.
Hmm.
Like with Arthur, what gives with this constant warfare? I mean, the guy was killing this person and that person, and Guinevere with what was up with this sexual intrigue story that's connected with her, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
What's the real Guinevere? What's the real Arthur? And therefore, what's the real us? So, yes, they give us that slightly more human being energy.
Hmm.
And they also give us much more of the obvious unlocking of the door again to the Fae realm.
Right.
Because, Wendy Berg is talking about Guinevere as being fairy lineage. I'm definitely going to be talking about that, how and why that is.
Hmm.
And really, Lisa Renee is talking about Arthur as being Fae lineage as well. And also connected to these dragons. And what the heck are these dragons? What is this?
Hmm.
And what's a good dragon versus a negative dragon, right? I mean, this is where the great confusion took place. And I've talked about this for years, that the dragons were misrepresented as our lizard friends, let's just say.
Yeah.
And that this is a problem because these beings used high level technology or whatever to confuse everybody
Right.
about what was a dragon, which is a positive energy being that has to do with creation source,
Mm.
and what was a negative, unfriendly force that kind of looks like a dragon but isn't, and is, hijacking that image.
Mm.
And then this led to the killing of the dragons and so forth.
Right.
But we're going to be looking at Arthur's parentage, connected to the dragons. And what is it that we need to harness about these dragons? What is it that we need to understand? I mean, Kaya Ra has been opening this door about the
Mm.
Sophia Dragon tribe. And Lisa Renee has been opening this door, especially of late. I mean, she just said a stunning thing in April 2022, where she was basically said, Mary is the mother of dragons, and this is what's returning on the planet right now. Okay, that like blew me wide open with all the Mary stuff.
Right. How I don't quite understand when you say dragons are creational energy. How is
Yeah,
that?
they are. when you start studying dragons and what all these seers are saying and teaching about dragons, you start understanding, wow, they are cosmic creator beings, deeply connected with the feminine and with what we would call Sophia as the great cosmic mother womb of all creation. They are these they are these energies that come into form that we understand as dragons. These dragons are in all traditions, right? The
Right.
Chinese, think about the Chinese, and think
Right.
about, the ancient Celts, and they're all over the place. And they are intimately connected with the earth realms because there are earth dragons
I see.
that have to do with ley lines and earth energies, and they have been diverted and hijacked and imprisoned and torn apart. Tiamat is a dragon.
Right. Tiamat.
Okay, she's a dragon whose womb was cut apart by that Marduk guy.
Right.
That is not a positive thing.
No.
All right. So we have to understand and look at where are the dragons in these stories and how do we need to resurrect them, because they're coming out of stasis.
And they're connected to snakes,
They are connected to snakes. And
which have
so
gotten a bad rap
they've
too.
gotten a bad rap, Eve, because of this cosmic confusion, connecting them with, the lizard beings, as I'm calling them, but people are
Right.
using other words. I don't want to use that word right now,
Okay.
but it begins with an R.
Yeah.
And, again, this great cosmic confusion, that's the piece that I've been bringing in, that I haven't even actually heard anyone else speak to. So it's like we're all having to bring in these pieces and understand the travesty of the reversals that have happened, the wool that's been pulled over our eyes, and what we need to do to reclaim this power. Because to reclaim dragon energy is to reclaim sexual energy. It's to reclaim creation energy. It's to reclaim, cosmic mother energy, and it's to reclaim phallic energy in a big way.
Wow.
This is only the beginning. Like, honestly, I'm just planting seeds here, but
Yeah.
people, some people listening to this will already know this and be farther down the road. Great, come be in our course, give information, whatever. And others will be like, wow, what
Right.
is it all about? What do I need to do with this information? I mean, I started learning about, taking some dragon workshops and things like that. And there's this woman who has a dragon oracle card, and, there's water dragons, earth dragons, fire dragons, air dragons, etheric dragons, right? There's many different types. I've seen the dragons come through trees. They can be birthed through women consciously back into the earth plane through our wombs.
And what do you mean exactly? Not as a child, is it? Or
What you do is you birth a golden egg into the earth, you squat, and then you've birthed a dragon into the earth, and you ask it to awaken and do its positive bidding.
wow.
This is stuff that's been coming to me in medicine ceremonies for decades, for 2 decades now. All these pieces.
Yeah, because the womb seems to be consistently throughout it all.
It is. It's totally throughout it all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the reversal of it, what happened to Guinevere, how she was maligned. The female sorceresses in the story, Morgause or Morgaine or Morgan Le Fay, whatever her name is there. Right. And these intrigues that went on among the women, and this womb fighting that ended up happening. And so, but yes, the womb again is the source of it all.
So do you see Morgaine as not a positive?
Well, again, her
Hard.
story got probably hijacked.
Yeah.
you
Because
know,
there are a lot of people who love Morgaine. Like I think,
yeah,
Mists of Avalon, she's sort of a protagonist.
right. It's we have to look at and clean up all this stuff. I mean, there's always the negative aspect of the feminine. There's always the positive aspect of the feminine. But
Right.
we're also starting to look at, as Lisa Renee is doing, is like, well, who did that inverting?
Yeah.
Who created that story of that person? What do we need to do to clean that up
Mm.
and restore Morgan Le Fay as something besides whatever she is in these various stories? It's oftentimes an evil sorceress, so to speak.
Right. And Guinevere has had her thing with Lancelot and this and
Oh
that.
my God, the whole Guinevere thing, I mean, we'll be talking about that in the course as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lancelot and Guinevere, did they or didn't they?
I
We're
want to know.
looking. Inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds do want to know.
Yeah, because when Lisa Renee point blank said that is a made up story, yeah, and then when I went and looked that it came out in Chrétien, of France, and later, it wasn't exactly part of the original. Lancelot is not even mentioned.
Wow.
You start wondering,
Mm. And it's interesting that just because you've inspired me to work with Guinevere in my womb power class this week, I
this
was
is,
looking for images of Guinevere and they're always with Lancelot. There's
I
very
know,
few with Arthur.
I
Very
know.
few.
That's right. And that's why the image that you have there, we
Mm.
found it's a public
Yes.
domain image that my designer Mariah Lander worked with
Yep.
to show a positive relationality
Yeah.
between Arthur and Guinevere.
Yeah. I know. I found a wooden sculpture of her and Arthur,
Yeah,
but it's that's very few images, and I was like, that's part of the propaganda. Let's
it
just
is.
focus on her as this woman with having an affair with this. Yeah.
That's right. If she wasn't already having an affair with Mordred, King Arthur's son,
Oh, right.
that's an earlier one.
Right.
Which is an abduction story. So we don't even know how much control she even had in that situation, and was she forced into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that, once I gave myself permission to consider by what Lisa Renee had said, that opens up a whole door. Wow, what if actually Guinevere had been happy with Arthur? How would that restore the sacred marriage on the planet?
Right.
He was, after all, a powerful king, until he became sort of watered down later by the French, the French writers. And so what would that be? And I'm going to have people like think about that, dwell with that, work with that, because here's what all of this business of Guinevere and all these abductions and these sexual intrigues and betrayals, could it be that this is just part of the sexual misery programming that was inserted by these beings into our realities and timelines, then to be continuing to be propagated and serving as bizarre role models for us, where we can't even stay loyal to a partner? And
Right.
right, it affects us. It's like, wow, can somebody really be happy with somebody for decades?
Right. Totally.
Right.
Yep.
So these are the possibilities that we're looking at.
That's
Like,
awesome.
what could that look like without loss of sexual vitality, loss of attraction and attractiveness, loss of freedom?
Right.
What are the benefits of that coupling, like swans or doves?
Right. That's beautiful because
Yeah, because how many people, especially women, are so upset by all of this negative sexual programming that's going on, starting with porn
yep.
and going into all of these stories and these alien love bite energies of getting seduced and then getting dumped. And oh my God, we just need that off the planet right now.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you say about the Fae. Now, okay, so before we talk about the Fae, I mean, we're going to talk about them, but why is it important that Arthur and Guinevere are of the Fae lineage?
Because what's happening right now is we're moving back into fifth dimensional consciousness after a long time of being in 3D in the Kali Yuga, the nadir point of earth plane living,
Right.
a living hell, essentially,
Hmm.
where we've been cut off from magic as a whole.
Hmm.
People are eating cornflakes and looking at football and working in whatever jobs they're working in, and this constitutes the life and the death of a person on the planet. We need more. Okay.
Right.
And so those of us who are using this time of great travail, upset, and weirdness, that we're understanding this is the time of the great awakening,
Hmm.
saying, wow, okay, so then what's being required? What do we need to do?
Hmm.
We need to get back into magic. In order to understand magic, we need to understand how we are this close to the beings on the other side of the veil.
Okay.
And the first ones are the Fae. They're
Okay.
like closest to us because they are in fifth dimensional reality in the same third dimensional space, just a phase shift away. They are our teachers and our trainers. If we can get in with them, then
Hmm.
we can start opening to this bigger and broader picture.
I love it that you've just started to pixelate, by the way, in a very
Oh,
soft way.
in
In
a
a very,
very weird, yeah, I'm,
I was hoping you
no,
would.
I know, it's just so weird. I'm like, what is happening? Is this my camera?
I know it's subtle, isn't it? It's kind of
Yeah, it is.
beautiful.
It's like, yeah, but it's like here they are.
Yeah.
They play in and out of technology. I mean, we've all had that experience of negative and positive.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, I love, sorry. Yeah.
woohoo.
I know. Good. You can see it. Good. Okay.
All right, so they're playing right
They're
now.
really playing.
I I mean, honest to God, have not had this.
You know, I
I know.
asked, I love
Yeah,
it
you're
because,
there. Please show yourself, right? Okay, so here they are showing themselves. Here they
yes.
are showing themselves. I am not doing any tricks. Why am I suddenly looking like I'm
This is,
going into the other world? It's so totally trippy.
it is. It's so different. I've never seen this form either, right? It's a new,
Yeah,
they're offering a new like way of seeing they're being seen. Um,
yeah.
well, I
I
love
guess I'm going to have to talk to you from behind the veil now, Michelle. It looks like it's here to stay.
you're with the oh, there you are.
I don't know. It's so
Oh,
weird.
when you go closer, it's better.
They love to like play with blur now. They're like,
I
ooh,
love it.
blur. This is a new way we can like work with it.
It's
I
really
have the same
beautiful,
light that I always do.
right?
I have outdoor light. I have my, little O-ring light, and okay, we're just gonna work with it.
Good. Well, I'm glad that they popped in because, they're adding to they're affirming that they are really close to us and that and I think what I love about you, I mean, I never heard that before, that they're the closest to us of interdimensional beings. And that just makes them that much more accessible and the way, that they are in nature and all of that.
Because they are us. They are our kin.
They're our kin.
Yeah. And we need to remember that. so that we can activate those aspects of our DNA.
Okay.
That's what it is all about.
Okay.
And so that we can be in 3 dimensions while being in the other dimension. Michelle, I swear this is like really weird and trippy. They're just, okay, I just have to surrender to them right now. This is just so, we were joking earlier, right, about the pixelation, and this is,
Totally.
wow.
This is the blurification version.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
But when you lean forward, it seems to, I love that. That is gorgeous. I
There's
see
like
you.
a rainbow thing. Is that
Yeah.
a
It's
rainbow?
like, yeah.
So here's the thing about the rainbow.
Uh-huh.
That is related to the round table technology.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's what we're going to be looking at together,
Amazing.
because the round table is an interdimensional technology for unity consciousness and equality.
Oh, beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a big like desk of oak that's round. It's an inner technology. And Lisa Renee talks about the relation of the rainbow to it. So we're going to be looking at that and how it's a portal technology.
That's so interesting because it does relate, this over the rainbow kind of thing.
I know.
People who are fascinated with real rainbows and wearing rainbow
Yeah.
colors and.
I know, because geez. Oh my God, this is so weird. I've sat here for months and years, and so the rainbow. Here's the thing about the rainbow.
Hmm.
Anyone can look at the rainbow and understand interdimensional reality. It's
Mm,
right there in front of your eyes.
mm.
You do not need to be a magician, a scholar, a sacred medicine cosmonaut. You just need to look up in the sky and go, that is really trippy.
Mm.
And what is that actually? And that's why in the last class, we're going to be working with the rainbow and the round table, but also with the leprechaun power. Okay, because this is why the leprechauns are connected with the rainbow.
I was going to mention, I always think of leprechauns and rainbows together.
Yeah, yeah, because they're really the ones that govern the rainbow
Ah,
in terms of helping they're teachers of humanity around the rainbow. And notice that the pot of gold is connected to it.
that's right.
And so they are all about the new economy on the new earth.
I love it.
Okay, so we're going to be working with the leprechauns, the last class, the leprechauns, seeing fairies, and working with them at a new level of manifestation magic, because they're like amping it up now.
They are.
Yeah, yeah. In everything I've been doing in client sessions, and a number of years ago, they're like, well, create a leprechaun altar, we'll show you how to do abundance at on a new level. And this whole thing about gold.
Right, which is totally the thing right now.
Yeah, it's etheric gold, it's physical gold. Physical gold is really powerful because it has a very strong etheric component.
Hmm.
And what I have received is that it's an antidote, a protection mechanism against AI,
Whoa.
which is more than AI as being more than, a little algorithm that if you were thinking about bras and then all of a sudden you see bras ads on Facebook, it's more than that.
Right.
Okay. AI is like a whole other level of shenanigans. And so we need our gold light, and our physical gold to combat this, which is why these beings were mining gold on the earth.
Oh,
because they knew they needed to have gold in order to withstand the very AI that they were starting to put in motion.
oh my God.
Okay. Yeah. Because so that they didn't get totally swallowed by it. So they need to have these gold shields and whatnot and so on so that they can use it and direct it and not be at the effect of it. Meanwhile, they can, disturb everybody else with the effect of it. I mean, all
Whoa.
these things, the unfriendly forces, the lizard people, the Anunnaki, etc. All right. So I'm talking to you, at a pretty deep level here that it's like people are ready. They're ready to hear this. A lot of people are going to be activated and go, whoa, okay, I just got another segment of my marching orders.
Right.
They're going to take it and do their thing of what they're meant to do. And we're all awakeners for one another.
That's so beautiful. I mean, it's so 5D, to think,
Totally 5D.
yeah, to think in that communal, collaborative way that we're all have pieces to this puzzle and we're
Yeah.
all, yeah, unique
Yeah. Yeah. For
contributors.
sure. For sure. And, these are the Merlin teachings. The mystery schools were always an inside job.
Mm.
So the Arthurian experiences that are sometimes described in these ancient legends and so forth of these trippy experiences that Lancelot had and all this, these were inner experiences and inner teachings, and the knowledge was only obtained through the experience. And Merlin was one of the great teachers of this. He was a real magician priest for it. And he was in a lineage of these priests and priestesses. Of course, the females get the bum rap, the Morgaines of the world and everything.
Right.
Whereas the Merlins are like, oh, they can do whatever manipulation they want and everyone's okay with it.
Right.
Meanwhile, Merlin was already creating problems, which we'll talk about it. I love you, Merlin. However,
Right.
because they started getting desperate too.
Mm.
They started getting really worried about humanity and like, oh my God, it's going to slip out of our grasp.
Mm.
In a way it has, or it seems like it has, but not really. Because we're all coming out of stasis, as I said, we're all awakening and we're all figuring out what this means in the now time, which is the no time,
Mm-hmm.
which is the all time.
Mm.
Yeah, Merlin, I had his sense of him in my medicine sessions years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, ooh, Merlin, wow, you're so cool. I love you. And his, interestingly, his teachings for me were all about time, the nature of time, the weirdness of time, the malleability of time, the changeability and mutability of time. So isn't it interesting how today you and I are talking about timelines and the blurring of these timelines? And that's a totally Merlin thing. He's
Mm.
like, yeah, let it work for you.
Right.
I'm always almost even just wanting to like close my eyes and see if Merlin or any of these people have,
Sure.
and if you have questions, okay, so let's just
Yeah.
see. Yeah, Merlin is like the archetype of the mage and the sage,
Mm-hmm.
like the Moses with the rod, with the snake,
Mm-hmm.
and Tiresias, the great sage of the Greek pantheon, who learned the sexual mysteries by becoming a man and then becoming a woman, and and learning what it was like to have sex as either of those, right? So Merlin was operating in a time when the feminine was really getting clawed out. And he had to take on male and female mysteries, but did it imperfectly. That's what I'm receiving right now. how he got involved with these various conception rites, did not have all of the codes. And that was the issue. And
So,
that's why it didn't go well, because he was trying his best. But so much damage had been done to the sacred feminine womb codes by that point that he couldn't really control it.
so he was trying to, it was like Guinevere herself needed his help for this. She didn't have it also, this
Right.
divine, okay.
And not only that, but as I'm going to talk about in the class, there was direct interference with that.
Right. So even if she could have done it on her own, there was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The way you talk about it in your books.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was a latter day, or, version of the hijacking
Right.
of the divine birthing by the negative forces,
Mm-hmm.
which included pretty high level tech.
Oh,
Yeah, even at that time, because we have to understand that anything on the other side of the veil where we're talking about these fantastical beings and this is all high level tech.
right.
And in order to understand what that is, go dip into Lisa Renee's Shifting Timelines blogs under her resources tab
Mm-hmm.
and her Ascension glossary, and start looking up whatever you need to look up curiously for words and different things.
Uh-huh.
So, okay. So, these magical understandings have tried to poke through various stories, novels,
Mm.
movies, the whole Lord of the Rings cycle, and all of that, which again, Lord of the Rings, it's all the unification of the fairy realm, the king and queenship realm,
Mm.
and the interdimensional realm of dastardly forces and so forth.
Mm.
And so it's up to all of us to up-level our integrity and grasp what is positive and helpful,
Mm.
and leave behind the rest, and not get into these negative warring pictures and these competitions and these betrayals and all of this type of thing. As we clean this up, it will be less and less needed for us even to go there. There'll be less and less temptation for all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
we're in a process of pulling the spiral up.
Right.
Is there a question, Michelle?
I'm curious about, it really feels like the mind control is the thing we're working with the strongest in this scenario. Like, of course I want to talk about sex stuff, but it feels like, I don't know if you want to address mind, sex, all of that. It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, the mind control.
you know.
Well, the biggest mind control is the semi-successful move to veil all of this under the guise of fiction and non-reality.
Yeah.
If you want to get rid of the mysteries and knowledge, you just say it's not real
Right.
and get people to believe it.
Yeah.
And then they will dismiss it from their reality.
Right.
That's why the fairies and the whole thing about Tinkerbell and all that was, I believe, I believe, I believe. It's important to believe.
Yeah.
If you don't believe, you cannot operate in these realms. And so that's what I'm receiving from from Merlin right now. And so what's happening now is a kind of a dangerous operation that these forces are doing, because they know that they're taking a risk by bringing us to the edge of cracking open through these ridiculous things they've been doing on the planet for the past 2 years.
Right.
Waking people up suddenly while trying to control them down. but there are so many people who are popping up through it, like flowers,
Mm-hmm.
that it's creating more pop-up of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to just keep that pop-up going. And those of us who were never clamped down to begin with are here to keep talking in ways that are pointed and getting, the information across.
Mm-hmm.
And that also ultimately have to do with love, because we're not going into battle.
Right.
The battle is a love battle.
Mm.
That's how you're going to get around it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what ended up happening is these beings, they were getting so besieged, they had to go into such high level internal warfare that things started getting off kilter. And so we're all kind of getting pulled back to the level of awareness and the level of the heart. And that's also, what this course is ultimately going to be about, so that we're not wildly getting into warrior mode in an unproductive way that's just calling in certain forces to us. Okay.
Beautiful.
What else?
So what about the womb? How does the womb play in all of this? And
Yeah. These guys were doing their best to protect it, clear it, and so forth, but they just couldn't, it was too much. The influx of these negative forces they lost their grip.
when you say they, you mean
The positive beings that were trying to protect, the knights and so forth, they
okay.
the magicians, the positive magicians, the Arthurs of the world,
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to protect, and they lost their grip.
Mm.
And it looked like all was lost. But it's basically just a cycle that we had to go through. And in sort of trust and faith that, well, everyone was going to learn the lessons that they needed to, down to the one individual, all the individuals. And these beings understanding that they needed to take a step back or go into stasis, if you will, while we all were starting to work on it in our own way. So they had to trust that we would find our way back.
Mm.
And so now, with all of the work to restore the sacred feminine, clear the sacred feminine of misery programming and hijacking and controlling, and the womb, we are climbing back up and out of this pit. And the women are being able to take back the power that the men were, because of these machinations of the unbalance between masculine and feminine, which were caused by these exterior forces, not by humans themselves.
Right.
The men did their best.
Yeah.
They couldn't hold it. They didn't fully understand, the mysteries and things like that. They got involved in all sorts of things as well. And so now it's like enough of the baton was able to be passed to the women. There was like a point where I'm getting that it could have all been lost, but there was enough of the baton that was being passed through the time warp or whatever it is, for someone to grab it. It's like a different type of Excalibur. So Lady of the Lake pulling in that phallic Excalibur sword was part of this, that it had to kind of go down in there and gestate for a while. The lake being the womb. And now the women are reclaiming the power, which is why we can awaken to Guinevere into her full glory. And clean up that story. and re-empower her, because as we re-empower her, we re-empower ourselves as women, as priestesses, as fairy emissaries.
So reclaiming sacred sexuality, reclaiming our connection to the womb and our own sexual energy, all of these things feel like they contribute to this 5D,
Completely.
right? Because they
Yes.
were co-opted away from us through mind
Yes,
control and bad propaganda that it's bad and this and that and the other.
that's right. And it became infiltrated and twisted with weird stuff. Um,
Right.
you know, depravity, that would let certain energies come in and feast on it. And so we're all like restoring and just releasing all this negative imaging and negative energy and negative picturing
Mm,
that's in all of these, our wombs, our phalluses, and so forth.
right.
And we are restoring wholesome Lemurian sexuality.
Right. I mean, it's like men have had to suffer through circumcision. Like
Oh
that's
my God,
right. Like
that's one of the
mostly
things.
mostly in this country, I hear it's worse in the States than anywhere else in the world. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, a total torture mechanism, like Rihanna Eisler said years ago in The Chalice and the Blade, to connect violence, rage, and sexuality
mm,
for men.
right.
And so these are some of the things that we're healing and reversing.
Yeah.
No male circumcision, no female circumcision, the
Yeah.
restoration of a beautiful birth process, not the medicalization of it.
Right.
The medical system being in service to the natural, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I've just been learning how, I mean, the birthing process has been so co-opted by the medical profession that it's to the point where women don't realize that they're the ones that know more than anyone else how to do this. And they don't
exactly.
need all this medical intervention that's interrupting their ability to go into ecstatic states.
Yeah,
You can't.
exactly. Exactly. Um, completely. And letting it be a lotus birth where the placenta, the umbilical cord falls off naturally instead of
Right.
traumatizing the
Yeah.
individual by
Mm,
cutting off a vital blood supply of an organ that is still giving it nutrients and energy of the mother outside the womb for that week period,
right.
that week long period. So, I mean, just crazy,
Crazy.
satanic, sick, twisted stuff that came in.
Yeah.
And that now, you sound like a lunatic
Right.
just to be proposing these other things, which is all part of that
Right.
plan.
Yes.
And it's at every level. Now it's at the other level of the medicalization of everything else that's been going on. And you sound like a lunatic if you're like, no, you
Yeah.
know. um
Exactly. Um, so why is Guinevere so awesome?
yeah, let's look at Guinevere.
Let's look
Okay,
at Guinevere because
I'm preparing for this class now, so I'm starting to really like work with these beings.
mhm,
What I'm receiving from her is that, she would like to give everybody an invitation to see her in her shining one aspect, her
mhm,
shining one as an aspect of, as a shining one.
mhm,
And we are going to do this in this course. You don't need the course to do it, but it might help you get in that mind space and that energy frequency.
uh-huh,
But I'm seeing her as, yeah, the restored feminine. Holy gosh. I mean, she is, well, her name means like shining white, light. Okay. And
right,
it's been said to be white shadow and all this and that, but it's like she's a shining one. So by seeing her in her awesomeness as a shining one, in
mm,
restoring her as a shining one in the cause, the collective consciousness. We help her heal because she was pulled down into that vortex of craziness.
Right.
We help her heal, we restore her to her place, and then we restore us to our place.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's a mentor as a shining one, just like we're doing with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, any of these beings. I mean, these inner processes of restoring these beings
Mm-hmm.
and to their rightful place is an important service that humans can give to them. I mean, I almost want to cry right now.
Wow.
To get them out of that vortex and that net of, Lisa Renee talks about it as like these like abduction grids or something. Like they get abducted into these grids and then they're there stuck.
Oh,
It's horrifying. Yeah.
right.
So, I'm just inviting everybody just now to just tune into Guinevere as her shining one status with her royal crown
Okay.
and her shining garment and her fairy queenhood. What does that do for you?
All right.
That's where we're going.
And one other question about that, is there anything that sort of differentiates her as her? It's like we don't really know where her strength comes from. I mean, you're saying a shining one, so that must mean, yes, an elevated high frequency. Is there
Yeah.
anything?
Her strength comes from Divine Mother's Sophia Goddess.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to talk about in the course as well. It stunned me. The names that Lisa Renee uses to describe her triple goddess nature. I was like, oh, I know what each one of those things means. Oh my God, talk about weaving things together and puzzle pieces coming together.
Okay.
She's an emanation of that great triple goddess. And so are we all.
Okay.
And she retains her personality as Guinevere, just like you, Michelle, retain your personality as Michelle in this lifetime, but you're part of a larger ovish soul that is the goddess herself.
That's beautiful.
That's the mystery that we're all coming into awakening about. And these things do matter. These beings do matter. Humans are learning. There's still so much for us to learn and heal. In a way, it seems simple with how we're talking about it. Like, yeah, why don't we all just, okay, do that? But oh my gosh, there's so much, negative forces
Right.
against it. And again, people are still eating their devil dogs and they're whatever they're doing. I mean, these crazy anesthetizing themselves with tons of alcohol and thinking, oh, that'll get me into an altered state.
Right.
Well, how about using cacao instead? Or, right?
Right. Um, any suggestions for the non-caffeinated people who can't handle caffeine?
There's no caffeine in cacao.
Oh,
No, that's again a misnomer that was put in. There's caffeine in the stem and the leaves, but not in the seeds, which is what you ingest in ceremony. There's no caffeine.
but
It's
when you get raw cacao, there's no caffeine in raw cacao.
caffeine.
I get buzzed, like I get
You'll get buzzed,
vibrate.
but it's not, it's dealing with your vascular system, not your nervous system. Caffeine is nervous system stimulation.
Hmm.
Cacao is heart and vascular system stimulation.
Oh, that's
And it
interesting.
opens your heart, it opens your consciousness, it opens your blood vessels.
Okay, that's
Totally
fascinating.
different. It's not jacking you up like caffeine, even though you will feel stimulated. And then some people feel tired, they'll, go to sleep, whatever it is that you need. So this is
Okay.
a great opener at this time for people to have understandings in a safe way.
Right. And I mean, feel like also that, when you talk about the Fae and your other material, like connecting with nature and opening up to the possibility of communication.
Right.
I mean, it feels
All of
like,
these, yeah, these things are plant spirits. They are the Fae par excellence, the mushrooms of the world, the San Pedro cactus of the world, the cacao of the world, even the cannabis of the world before it was starting to get hijacked, and all
mhm,
sorts of things are going on now. So
mm,
yeah, these are the very Fae that can enter your bloodstream and give you
right.
an awakening. You will be one with them.
Mm. And I
So
think, so go ahead.
some people experience it with high grade spirulina. Some people
Right.
experience it with, different types of things,
Yeah.
matcha, and
Right.
even, chaga sometimes, or right. So there are many different allies for many different people. Tune in, see what is it for you. And then when you're in that place, tune into the Fae. What are these plant spirits telling you? Open your consciousness, see what information jewels are coming into you.
And I have to say also, I heard you say that someone asked, how do you heal heartbreak? And they said song and dance. And I have to say, I was on a hike with a friend and we were talking about s- issues where we feel mind controlled and how to work with it, like just thoughts that keep, chipping
Uh-huh.
away. And we started singing songs about it. Just, and it totally shifted the energy.
Yes, yes, because levity, humor, all the arts, they're all fairy given things. And
Mhm.
yes, the muses are part of that. Um, yes, you can shift it because those thought forms are part of the programming, all that anxiety programming, the thoughts that are in the middle of the night or whenever it
Yeah.
is. It's also coming from the Wi-Fi signaling that's going through our bodies. All of that data that's going to your computer and this and that is going through your body
I,
as code. And then we're all wondering, like, why am I so anxious all the time?
yeah.
Right? There's lots of factors that are going into that.
Right. Wow. So good.
Wow.
Do you have anything else you want to say about any
Ouch.
of this?
You know, it feels like we've come to completion, but let me just
Yeah.
sense if there's anything else. What's happening is just I'm seeing Guinevere in her shining garments. And I just sense her saying, let me show you myself as you've never seen me before in your memory.
I love it.
Mhm. So with that image,
Yes. That's a
you
nice
know,
image.
we invite people to either continue on your own or join us for the class.
Yeah. I'll have a link below for people to sign up.
Yeah, that would be so great. It's definitely striking a nerve.
Yes. Oh, I mean, I mean, I was just tickled beyond belief the minute I read your email. I was just like, and I had to listen to everything you possibly were saying about it. It was just, there's something so special about this.
Yeah, yeah. It's connecting dots.
Yeah,
It's joining puzzle pieces together. It's restoring the net, and it's helping us move forward in a really significant way, I think.
absolutely.
And it's very exciting and
It's it's
fun.
what? Sorry.
Very exciting, cool, and fun.
It is. And just the way you are able to connect it from to the big picture to the, from the esoteric to the big picture of what's occurring right now. I mean, it's very integrate how you present all of this. And it's accessible, like it's workable, it's doable. It's like there's something to do here.
Yeah, there's something to do. There's tools to be given and practiced and played with. And I just think this is going to just inspire people on their own to just go and exponentially work with the material. And
Definitely.
that's the new fifth dimensional way of learning.
Love that. Yes. And all of your resources on your website are so amazing. Thank you for that
Oh,
generosity.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, you are modeling that generosity and inspiring, here's some tools, play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for taking a look and thanks for having me here. Yeah,
My,
so people can go to, you're going to have the link, but if
I'm
they're
going to have the
listening,
link.
they just go to sevensistersmysteryschool.com. The seven is
Mhm.
written out, and they'll see it either on the homepage or under the online courses tab.
Mhm.
The course link will appear. And there's, again, a couple of other videos and so forth where I start talking about this material.
And it sounds like you're doing some blogs.
Yes.
You had a great blog just this Sunday, I think, and you're going to be doing a few more.
You more. I've just been so inspired by these topics.
Well, they're vast, actually.
They are fast.
I got a little overwhelmed in preparation because I was like, there is so much more to listen and to like digest here. I'm like, oh my, I
No,
had no idea how big and vast this was in a
I
good
know.
way, but in a
Yeah,
like, whoa.
yeah. And this week coming up, the blog is going to be about the link to the Kennedys.
No way. Oh my God, that's amazing.
I know.
Marguerite, you are so freaking cutting edge. I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
there's stuff to be said there. So I was so excited about that blog post.
OMG.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
comes out when?
That comes out every Sunday.
Sunday it is. Okay, good.
So but people can look under the blog if they're looking at another time here and just see,
Right.
yeah, you'll see the title of it.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Goodbye, sisters. Goodbye, everybody.